Welcome to Dan Research, Module 3, Diver Safety Guardian. This presentation offers an overview of this unique online platform. It explains several of the features that are available to divers who choose to donate their dive details and electronic dive profiles to Dan Research. Diver Safety Guardian, or DSG, is an easy and intuitive online platform that allows divers to build their own personalized electronic diving activity and health record. The objectives of DSG are threefold. Firstly, it offers divers the opportunity to record and consolidate their diving activities and personal diving fitness and health records in one convenient and secure site. Secondly, divers are able to submit their diving activities for personal dive risk analysis. This is performed by means of a sophisticated statistical comparison with current decompression algorithms, as well as the International Data Bank of DSG diving safety outcome data. This allows divers to keep track of their personal diving safety thresholds and their health over time. Lastly, the submitted dive data becomes part of a pool of Dan diving safety outcomes, which continues building and expanding the reference data set. In this way, divers have the benefit of real-time, up-to-date diving risk and safety analyses, with immediate safety level indicators offering feedback to the diver. As a baseline, DSG employs one of the most widely used deterministic decompression algorithms. This means that depth and time combinations are used to project presumed nitrogen uptake with a specific low-level incidence of DCI outcomes. The particular model is the Bielmann ZHL16C model. The dive data is then cross-referenced to the Dan Dive Safety Outcome dataset for a probabilistic analysis. In other words, the probability of developing mild or serious decompression illness based on actual dive safety data. And this is then presented to the diver with an overall decompression risk indication. The platform is sponsored by Dan membership contributions and is offered free of charge to all divers to promote diving safety. DSG also offers useful analytical functions such as determining the time at greatest depth, the instant rate of ascent, also known as peak ascent rate, the average ascent rate, a categorization of dives according to those within 80% of the maximum supersaturation level in any tissue versus those with more than 80% supersaturation, according to the Bielmann model. The duration of surface intervals in a dive series, up to 48 hours of the last dive, and the number of dives with deep stops, including details on the depth and duration of the stops, and much more. By uploading the personal information and electronic dive profiles, divers are able to keep a secure and detailed record of their diving activities, as well as contributing this valuable diving safety information to DAN's international research database. The project is the product of Dan Research and is proudly introduced as the Diver Safety Guardian. Since the inception of Dan Europe's Safe Diver program several years ago, and the subsequent Dive Safety Laboratory, more than 60,000 dives have been entered into the Dan Research database by more than 800 individual divers. Much of this information has been entered by researchers on behalf of divers. But since providing the direct interface to divers with the introduction of DSG in 2014, more than 10,000 additional dives have been uploaded by an additional 1,000 divers. This is the actual data shown on the welcome page of DSG and is available online. If you are an active Dan member, simply enter your Dan ID and the same password as you use for MyDan. This will give you immediate access to DSG as well as all the features offered to Dan members. If you're not a Dan member yet, you can create your own Dan ID as follows. Visit the URL indicated on the screen and then register as a guest user. Alternatively, why not join Dan and then access DSG using your Dan member details as described above. So what's in it for me? Well, by registering with Dan DSG, each diver gets access to their own personalized advanced electronic logbook. Dives submitted to Dan by the diver are analyzed, and the diver receives a dive risk analysis symbol, real-time, indicating the decompression risk according to a standardized algorithm. This offers detailed graphics of real diving profiles compared to the ideal theoretical ones. It flags exposures with greater levels of decompression risk, such as periods when the dive is actually diving with a decompression ceiling, which means they would not be able to return directly to the surface. It points out potentially hazardous activities such as rapid depth changes or exceeding prescribed descent rates. And it assesses the overall diving safety. It then compares the risk profile to the average decompression risk for the whole data pool. And all of this information is available for safe storage and ready retrieval as part of the diver's personal electronic dive logbook. Your data will only be seen by Dan Europe Research, and it will be stored in the secure Dan Diving Safety Laboratory dataset. It's only used for research after being made anonymous. Divers are also rewarded according to their ranking in terms of the number of dives they donate. It is easy to upload the electronic dive profiles. After downloading the profile from your dive computer onto your desktop or laptop computer, simply drag the profile onto the upload site. DSG accepts 3 common formats in use with modern diving computers, and it's anticipated that repetitive dive profiles will soon be uploadable as well. A very attractive feature of DSG is the facility to geolocate the dive sites using an interactive map. This information also makes it easier to study the relationship between, for instance, water temperature and various dive sites, as well as dive safety outcomes. The view can be changed to satellite, allowing an accurate depiction of exactly where the dive occurred, and offers a unique record of diving activities. A common question that divers may have is whether uploading a so-called bad diving profile would jeopardize insurance or Dan membership benefits. The main goal of this whole project is to make diving safer. And to achieve this, the aim is to collect as many dive profiles as possible in order to analyze and better understand the inherent diving risks and to promote safe diving practices. The DSG platform records, reflects, and responds according to the activities and risk profile of the diver, and this allows the individual diver to make informed decisions, while also collecting information on the habits of recreational divers for a collective data pool. Importantly, the dive profile information is only accessible to Dan Research and is only used for research purposes. So what does the theoretical dive profile mean? The flexibility of modern dive computers permits almost limitless depth and time combinations within the ultimate boundaries of permissible tissue gas saturations or bubble volumes. So in order to provide a framework for comparison, DSG offers the opportunity to compare a given dive to a theoretical safe dive profile, also called an ideal dive, as calculated according to a tissue gas model, which is the Bielmann ZHL16C or US Navy version 6 air decompression dive table, as well as empirically guided deep stop profiles, which are the ones emanating from Dan Europe studies. This assists divers in deciding how to modify future dives. It also affords dive leaders and instructors the opportunity to offer a thorough and objective debriefing to their clients or students. DSG is configured to provide several analyses that are available at the click of a button. These include the frequency of diving activities over a calendar year, by month, the range and frequency of particular diving depths, the number of dives performed, and currents, a breakdown of the various dives according to dive risk category, and the dive risk positioning according to the collective Dan dataset. But what do the real-time decompression risk analyses, that is, the SMILEys, actually mean? When comparing event-free dive profiles with those associated with decompression illness, it was found that dives below a certain gradient level almost never produced decompression illness, whereas those above another gradient factor produced a greater number of injuries. Based on these thresholds, those below the threshold of gradient factors that were associated with DCI have been designated green. Those where injuries did occur are marked red, and the range in between is indicated yellow. However, divers need to be aware that a green smiley does not guarantee an incident-free dive, but it does indicate a low risk. Gradient factors are the highest percentage of supersaturation in body tissues during ascent or upon surfacing, and the maximum gradient factor during the process is the one that attributes the risk category. Dive risk positioning allows divers to compare their personal risk to that of the collective DAN database. On the slide it shows that the individual diver, on average, performs dives that produce a gradient factor of 72% compared to 65% in the rest of the DAN database. With that, we would like to invite you to join our DAN diving community and registering with DAN Diver Safety Guardian today. Why not try it right now?